Hi, this is Lisa Kelly, Notre Dame author and class of 1993, and you are watching the Two Irish Brothers show. Cheers and go Irish.
Green territory at the 46. Play action fake. Brady Quinn on first down. Plenty of time. Down the sideline. Has his man, but the ball hangs up. By Shelton. Matt Shelton, one of the fastest of the Irish, got behind his man Curry.
How's it going, everyone? I am Sean Moriarty, and this is the Two Irish Brothers show. Now, first things first, you guys know the drill about subscribing to the channel, so I'm going to forego that because you guys already know to do that. And subscribe, hit that tab, you know you want to. Now, before I introduce our special guest for this video, I want to let everybody know that Ben is not able to be here. He might pop in, but I heard his voice earlier. It sounds like he is suffering from laryngitis. He sounds bad. He was going to just be here in general and just really not say anything, but it was a tough scenario, so that's why he is not here right now. But he's here in spirit. If he has a chance to pop in, he'll pop in. So with that said, I want everybody to please welcome our special guest, the one, the only, former Notre Dame wide receiver, Matt Turbo Shelton. Welcome to the show, buddy. It's nice to have you.
That is an introduction. Thank you. Thank you. Glad to be here, man. Sorry, Ben's under the weather. We got a lot of pressure on us.
Yeah, I know. You're going to have to be the honorary second Irish brother, but you should wear that as a badge of honor, my friend.
I will. It's my cross to bear.
But as far as that intro, I mean, if I had some music to play for you, be just like the WWE, man. You come out being like, yeah, get the pyro going. But
I mean, that would have been perfect. We had Seamus pick us today on College Game Day to be national champs. That's our guy.
That's kind of the reason I brought that up, because that was so freaking awesome today. And we'll talk about that game later. But again, Matt, welcome to the show. It's great to have you. You are, I think, the 6th or 7th former player that we've had on, and it's always a blast when we're able to get former players on the show. Ben and I grew up watching you guys as long as we can remember, and just to be able to hear your insight, which what we're about to hear soon, is awesome. And I gotta admit, I'm my arms are tingling a little bit. It's really awesome.
Well, I hope I can bring the fire.
Please do. I like fire. I like fire. Cook it up.
Good.
So Matt, what we like to do with all of our guests, especially with players, and maybe it's the stereotypical question, but give us a little insight on your background. You know, how did you get into playing football and athletics in general? And let's hear it, man. Where did it all start from Matt Shelton?
I mean, do you want me to start talking about the book now?
Well, that's where the book starts.
But
all right, that's fine. That's fine. So we'll start with that. Because it all coincides. Matt has a new book that he has coming out, and he's going to talk about that right now.
Well, no, the only reason I bring it up is because that's exactly where it starts. It starts in the very beginning. So, it starts out basically in high school where, I'm rolling around the ground in the dirt and I'm thinking, why the hell am I playing this sport called football? I grew up loving it, wanting to play it. And my parents wouldn't let me play it until 7th grade. They always said, you're too small. You're too small. Well, newsflash, I was too small to play college ball and NFL ball. But when you find speed along the way, things change as far as size goes. So that's really where, my love of sports started. Was just at a young age. I was the youngest of 3 brothers by 5 years to the middle child, Jason, and Paul's the oldest. And they used to beat my butt every day. And I honestly thought I was a terrible athlete until 7th grade when I went to play football. Because in all of the sports I played up until football, I would play with teams that were a year or two older than I was. So I thought I was a terrible athlete. I was the smallest of everyone, and I thought I was slow and unathletic, not quick. And then I got into 7th grade football, and I was like, wait a minute, something's going on here. All of a sudden, I was fast. I was quick. I wasn't the smallest, but I also wasn't the biggest. And that's kind of where I found my passion of sports, is just getting my butt kicked by my brothers and, chasing that dream. And then you get to high school. And I will say that when I started to get recruited by Notre Dame, I didn't really know where the school was. I grew up watching Notre Dame, but I was never paid attention to where schools were, what was going on. And honestly, I thought this school was out in California somewhere. I didn't know. I love Notre Dame, but I didn't know where it was. I'm just one of those guys. Like, I listen to music. I love music. But if you ask me to name a song and tell me the name of it and who sings it, there's just not a chance in hell I can do that for you. I'm a very visual person. So I knew I liked the gold helmets, but I didn't know where the hell they were.
Well, I know a lot of guys, when they're in that similar situation, they find out that it's all the way up by northern Indiana or northern Michigan, close to it, and they experience that weather. They realize pretty quick where they are.
Yes. I remember that first gust of wind that hit me right in the face when I stepped off the airplane.
Yeah. I think that's a lot of people have that experience, so you're not the only one.
Yeah.
Now, I think you might have just said it, but just in case if you didn't, when I was, of course, I like to look up our guests, find out a little bit, but I don't want to look up everything because I'd rather hear the story directly from you. But you grew up in Tennessee, correct?
Correct, outside of Memphis.
Okay, and the reason I bring that up is something I'm really curious about. When you were playing high school football there, did you ever? And I'm not familiar with who's in what class down there, but sure. Did you ever play against or hear of Greenville High School?
I did not.
Okay. Well, I'm asking that question because one of our good friends here in the YouTube college football community, he goes by the screen name Big Ball Daddy, big time volunteer fan. He also covers Greenville High School in Greenville, Tennessee. So I was asking for him because I see Tennessee there. You can't help but think of this guy. So yeah, good friend of mine for years. So I was just curious.
No, I didn't play him. We were 5A at the time. It was the biggest class. And I'm not sure if Greenville was in that size range.
Okay, I'm not sure either. I just wanted to ask on behalf of my buddy. So in addition to Notre Dame, who were some of the other schools that were recruiting you along with them?
Yeah, and a lot of SEC guys. What was that?
I just said, and in addition to that, who was the closest?
Oh, okay. So a lot of SEC guys were, a lot of the Midwest teams were, so instead of going through a list of who offered, I'll go through a list of who stayed, because I did have an injury my senior year of high school, and most teams tucked tail and ran. Some stayed. Some were gracious enough to call me and say, good luck with your career. We're going to not offer you scholarship anymore. Which brings me to Bob Davie and Notre Dame. And he called me the week after my injury and said, unfortunate news, hear that you've had a significant injury, but myself and Notre Dame stand by our word. We offer you a scholarship. We think you're a Notre Dame guy, and I don't care if you step foot on the game field or the practice field, you're going to graduate with a 4-year degree from the University of Notre Dame. And that's when my jaw drops, and I said, well, hell, he's standing by a kid that's 17, 18 years old, may never be able to play football at the level he was, may not have that speed that they're actually interested in ever again. So they stuck by me. Ohio State stuck by me, Duke, Vanderbilt, Memphis, maybe one or two others. But those were the main ones that stuck around. But again, everyone else just kind of disappeared or slithered back to their hiding holes.
I can understand you describing like that. I really can. Because some schools, they say they're with you, but they're really not. And I've never been recruited. I played sports, but I was terrible. But I can kind of see from how you're describing it that, yeah.
Well, yeah, it's disheartening for a 17, 18-year-old kid to have an injury and go through it. And then, you've got all this fanfare from these coaches in these universities. And then all of a sudden it's gone in the blink of an eye. And, it's a tough one. It's a tough one.
Yeah, I'm sure it was. Well, oh God, I hate when I lose my train of thought, man. I hate when that happens. But this is a raw moment, people. I'm going to be myself here. So here's the thing. One of the interesting things that, because I saw the little snippets of your book that you sent me.
Yeah.
So you get to Notre Dame, and I'm reading through the snippet of your book where you're talking about playing for what was it, 6 different head coaches?
5 head coaches in 5 years.
Okay. And when I first saw that, I'm thinking, what is he talking about? I'm like, oh, okay, Bob, because I know Bob Davie, Ty Willingham. Then you have the transition with Charlie Weiss. So I'm like, where are the other two coming from? I'm like, oh yeah, Kent Bear, who coached the Insight Bowl, and then George O'Leary, who was there for like 10 minutes.
Yep, those are the two. Those are the two, and there's a sneaky two. And George, you might remember because he was actually hired as a head coach, but Kent was an interim head coach and has a record at Notre Dame, and George does not.
Yeah, he was only there. But see, my dad made the joke about George O'Leary, and he said, "Well, you know something, Sean? He may be gone, but he left Notre Dame as an undefeated head coach."
That's a fact.
Yes, it is. It is. So when you get to Notre Dame, which it turned out to be the last year of Bob Davie's tenure there. And Ben and I had Mike Goolsby on the show very early this year.
Yep.
And we'll start with this is kind of a 2-in-1 question, but we'll start with Bob Davie since he was there first.
Right.
What was it like playing for him?
That is a little bit of a difficult question to answer because I didn't actually play my freshman year. And when I got there, it was like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde as far as Bob and the coaching staff goes. Because, you're being recruited. They love you. You can do no wrong. You're the darling, golden child, the whole thing. And then you get there and they forget your name. They don't even use words when they yell at you. It's mostly grunting and screaming and spitting on you. So a little bit of different of an experience. But playing for Bob Davie, I thought it was an amazing experience. I mean, yes, he was not very hands-on on the offensive side of the ball where I was. So I had more Coach Rogers was offensive coordinator. He was more hands-on over there. But Bob, just to watch him work and see how he operates a team meeting and a practice and then game, I mean, it's night and day versus, the level of high school to college, and just to see the difference between those guys. Not to say my college coaches or high school coaches were bad. They were phenomenal. But it's just a different level, obviously, just like skill set of players when you go up to the next level. Just the attention to detail, the time they put into it, the time they, give to us over their families and loved ones is amazing. And then Bob was just one of those guys. He was kind of that charming, charismatic person. So every time he spoke, you could see that. And then I'd wonder when I'm sitting in the meeting room where the hell that guy is, because I got this loud screaming guy in front of me. But I enjoyed playing for him. Didn't get a lot of time with him. I was, designated to the scout team and, just kind of did whatever the cue card told me to do. I do remember, though, my position coach, Joker Phillips, I literally think he forgot my name. Bob did give me a nickname. He called me Opie. Opie. And I don't know if that's because I was a little redneck from Tennessee or I look like, what's his Opie on the Andy
Howard.
Show. Yeah.
Yeah. I can't. I mean, granted, you're older now, Matt, but I can't see it.
I don't think so either. But maybe because he gave it to me after we had our hazing where they shaved our heads. So I was bald. So can you see it bald? I look like him now?
No. No.
I don't either.
Really. Unless you have a bald spot back here or something, I can't tell.
Not yet. It's coming, though.
Well, I'm only a few years younger than though, and I've been able to keep all it's messy with taking my hat off. I have all mine, so
there you go.
There you go. I'm giving you some confidence that I think you could keep it.
I've
done it so far.
I need all the help I can get.
Don't we all? Don't we all?
Not just that arena, all the arenas.
Yeah. And so when I had lost my train of thought before, I'm kind of all over the place, but I just want to get this in before I forget about it.
Sure.
So when I lost my train of thought, I remembered what I was going to ask you. When you got to Notre Dame, and this is something that I would love to ask any current recruit if we could ever get some on. Because you can interview recruits, but just you have a certain time to do it, and Ben and I haven't been able to do it yet. But we'll just go and ask you guys who were already there. When you're coming into when you decide on a college, I guess the first thing I want to ask is, and this is a kind of a two-parter as well. What's it like, despite your injury, what's it like when you're being recruited in high school by all these different teams? And I'm sure there's got to be pressure galore on you, people trying to push you to this school or to that school. But also the second part is when you do make that college choice and you get on campus for the first time, what's it like being in a new environment on your own and not exactly sure what to do? So go take it away, man.
Well, the recruiting aspect, I mean, it's pretty amazing. You've got these grown men, 30, 40, 50, 60-year-old, however old they are, recruiting you, this 16, 17, 18, 20-year-old kid, whatever your age is. And they bend over backwards to tell you how great you are, how phenomenal you are, what they can do for you, and how they can help you with your future. And it's just such an overwhelming experience. I thought, from that standpoint of, look, I'm in high school. I'm taking Algebra 2 right now. I don't know what my future holds, but they're talking about, next 4 years for the next 40 years. They're selling you that. That's just a whole different concept. And I was fortunate enough to have good parents, a good support system in them, to where they were my second set of eyes, second and third set of eyes, I guess. They were watching and everything that happened and giving me guidance. And their big thing was to give me guidance, but not tell me what to do. So that was good. They had their favorites, and Notre Dame was their favorite. It ended up working out. But it's an overwhelming experience, especially for a small town kid. Maybe it's different from a guy from New York City or a guy from Los Angeles. It's a little different of a setup and a lighting structure, if you will, that lights are brighter in those big cities than, my small town of 10, 20,000, whatever it was back in the day. So different from that standpoint. And then when you get on campus, you get there for 2 days in fall practice. And back then you couldn't come in early like you can now. So they would have the freshmen come 2 or 3 days before the seniors came, so they could, show us how meeting goes, show us how practice goes, let us drink water from a fire hose, see what sticks for 3 days. So the whole experience from day one when you step on campus till, you get to fall break is really that exact phrase, drinking water from a fire hose. I mean, they're throwing so much at you. It starts with, a playbook that's this thick, and you got to learn it. And then you got to navigate coaches in this new Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde personality and how to fight through that and make yourself seen and known and whatnot. And then you get out of those dorm rooms. In the book, I call it a prison because it's kind of like a prison. You got a yard in the back, you got a cafeteria, you got your cells, and that's what it felt like. I felt like I was in a little bit of a prison, and you are in your bubble. Mm-hmm. And students come on campus, and your jaw drops because you're seeing other people for the first time in 2 weeks. And then you got some more 2-a-days that go on, and then we jump into academia, and you're throwing calculus at me. Well, I was just in Algebra 2 last year. How the hell am I going to do calculus at Notre Dame? So
I couldn't even imagine where to begin.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. So I've got, a full load of 5 classes immediately, and I've got a 6th class of football, right? Mm-hmm. So we always take a full load so we can drop one if we need to. And Lord knows I need it to. So I dropped calculus immediately, and I still got a full load of 4 classes and football. So it's a lot going on. And, they make you go to summer school back then. I assume they still do today. So they force you to go to summer school. You got to take 2 classes. So I pick up that 5th one I dropped in that first semester, and I pick up another one. So I'm ahead. So that's always that kind of circular aspect of you drop one and you're ahead. If you don't need to drop one, then you're ahead too.
Yeah, I don't think most people realize how brutal a schedule is for a student athlete. It makes me wonder if they see. Let me put it to you this way: people should not believe everything they see in the movies, like The Program or what's that basketball one with Shaq and
Blue Chip.
Yes, Blue Chips. That's right. I think most people see that and they think that's how it is, but that's not really how it is at all. You guys are busting your tails off mentally and physically just to make this happen.
And I can't speak to other universities, and I'm not going to name names, but there are other universities that will pass kids. I can tell you that Notre Dame is not that university. Notre Dame forces you to do it on your own. But the great thing about them is they give you the support system so you can't fail. And if you fail, it's to an extent your own fault because you're not doing the work usually, or maybe it is just above your punching, weight class, if you will.
They don't slack.
They force you to go to study hall. I'd study hall 4 nights a week, 2 hours a night. So I'd get up at 6 a.m. I'd go to work out in the morning. Then I'd quick shower, off to class till 3 o'clock. where football meetings start, and then we practice and then have dinner, and then I've got 2 hours of study hall. I get back to my room at 11 o'clock at night. And that was my first year.
You mean you're not at the linebacker in for 5 hours a night?
Well, that was senior year, not freshman year. We'll get to that. That's in the book.
Okay. That was awesome. I had to throw that in there.
I like it. But it was an experience, and Notre Dame doesn't let you fail. I mean, you can definitely fail, but they had spies in the classrooms. If you didn't show up to class, you were ratted on. Somebody would tell on you. I did it once where I skipped class. I mean, Mickey Marotti beat my ass in the morning, and I was like, I need to sleep. I'm not going to this first class. So I skipped it, and I got called into my coach's meeting room or office, and I got scolded up and down for missing class. And then I got to study hall that night. I got called into Pete DeLonzo's office, and Pete just started going off on me. So
you're basically confirming what when we had, and I'm going to get back to him in just a second, but when we had Mike Goolsby on, he told us a similar story where he missed a class too just because he needed rest, not because he was pissing off the night before. He needed sleep.
Yeah.
And he said Willingham made him run laps backwards.
Yep. Odds are Willingham was hitting golf balls into a net while everyone else was working too.
Well, you saw that clip, didn't you?
Yeah.
But I'm sure you already knew about that anyway. But getting back to that, before I lost my train of thought, I wanted to get in that other question about your recruitment. So something else that aside from you and Mike being teammates for a few years, you guys both had something very much in common. You both made the coaching transition, and I'm talking about the two main head coaches, not the other ones that you list. But obviously he had the transition from from Bob Davie to technically you both did, but the transition from Bob Davie to Ty Willingham, and then you a second time from Ty Willingham to Charlie Weiss. So I'm going to ask you the same thing that I asked Mike. What is that like for you, the student athlete, when the first coach is either fired or leaves and you have somebody else coming in? I mean, what is that like on you when you know that this new coach is bringing in a new staff, a new playbook, and everything in between? What is that like for you to make that kind of adjustment?
It's a good question. It's kind of a good thing for me in the sense freshman year, I didn't play. I redshirted and knew I wasn't going to play. So I didn't have to learn our playbook. So I didn't have to learn that as much as everyone else. Yes, I knew the playbook. I knew the basics because if I got called in, I needed to know the answers. But I didn't know it like the back of my hand. Like, sophomore, junior, senior, and fifth year, I knew the playbook like the back of my hand because I know I have a chance to play. When I redshirted, I didn't. So I didn't have to really necessarily take on that added pressure of learning a new system because I didn't know the old system. So the first coaching change for me was really more about, okay, this is a reset. I was coming off an ACL last year. My odds of playing were really slim because of that. Anyways, it was only 10 months after surgery, and jumping up to high school or college ball was it was going to be a lot on a new knee. And I needed to learn how to play wide receiver because I was a wing back in high school. So I was basically a running back that, went deep every once in a while on a fade route. That's about it. So that transition was fairly easy for me from that standpoint. And it was more of an excitement for me because I wasn't playing with Bob. So I was like, oh, maybe I'll play with Tyrone. They'll give me a shot. So that excitement was the biggest feeling I had when they were coming over to us. I would say, and then I learned the offense, go through that. And then when Charlie becomes head coach, I got to learn new offense. But by that time, I learned how to study and learn a playbook. I mean, it's not just like reading your geography book or your calculus book and figuring it out. It's very much, for me, see the pictures and associate the words and the pictures and the letters to the routes and what everyone's doing and all of that. So I already kind of had a system down to learn it. So I was able to pick it up quickly, but I also had another injury at that time, which allowed me to not practice during spring ball and actually learn the playbook. So both times for me personally, it was a ton of excitement because the change for me was going to be good either way. That makes
Okay.
sense.
Well, it's like I told you before we started. Everybody has their own personal experience, their own vision of how things go, and it's a different experience for everybody.
Well, but to that point, the experience wasn't as exciting as I thought it would be that first year with Tyrone or that second year with Tyrone. The third got exciting for me, not for them, but definitely changed over time. That excitement changed into, I don't want to say all the words I want to say I was feeling at that time, but just, dismay, like, am I good enough to even be here? Why am I playing football? I mean, they treat me bad. I should leave. I should transfer. I tell you, freshman year, I did try to transfer, by the way, going back to Davey real quick. Sure. I did try to transfer and leave every single day because it was so hard. That schedule I just mentioned to you, it beat the shit out of me. So I was struggling my first year. And again, going back to the support system, my parents, every time on the phone, they'd be like, no, stay for the first year. If you're unhappy and want to go somewhere after, we support you. So I'm glad they made me stay because best decision I ever made.
Well, it's funny, and I'm not trying to take the focus off of you because you are our guest, but I can relate to that because being a football player myself in high school, and like I told you off camera, I was not good. But of course, I got all the support from my parents, and I'm not saying that a coach is more important than your parents, but I remember my head coach said something that really stuck with me in addition to what all my parents told me. But it was my junior year, I believe it was, my first year playing varsity, and our head coach, and this is when Illinois still had two-a-days going on. They actually don't have that here anymore. It's all indoors now.
Oh, yeah.
That's all indoor. That way kids, aren't risking heat stroke and all that.
Oh,
and I
mean, the white glove service kids get today.
Oh, man.
You don't have to worry about heat stroke, dehydration, and dying on a field? Come on.
You and I went through the glory days of it, man.
Oh, they don't have some coach grabbing their face mask and throwing it to them and hitting them in the head. They don't have that.
Well, the last coach I had, he was a yeller, but what was funny about him is he would yell at you and scare you, but he didn't like to cuss in front of the kids. So instead of saying, "You guys are pissing me off," he'd say, "You guys are honking me off." It's like, how would these kids keep a straight face hearing that?
Oh, he sounds like Tyrone.
He wasn't a big cusser either. Didn't like to cuss.
That doesn't cuss. Oh. Not one cuss word. And if we cussed, we'd have to run.
Life isn't fair, is it?
No. Sorry to take away from you there. Continue.
All right. I just was gonna say, my varsity head coach said something that really stuck with me to this day in regards to what you were saying about what your parents told you. And he told us that this was during two-a-days. We're getting our asses kicked. Everybody's miserable because it's so freaking hot. And, this is like the middle of freaking July. But he tells us, listen, to all you guys that are thinking about quitting, if you want to quit, go ahead and quit. And that's fine. That's your choice. But just keep in mind that if you quit, it all starts here. How much more will you be tempted to quit later on in life?
Yeah.
And that stuck with me to this day. Because there's been a lot of things, even here with Ben and I doing the show, where it's like, what's the point? Why don't we just quit? No, Don't quit. If it's something you love doing, you keep doing it. Because you don't want to just make this. Because his point was, you don't want to make it a habit of quitting at everything you do in life. So what you telling me what your parents said, that really resonates with me a lot too. So I know where you're coming from there.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you had a good high school coach. I mean, that's a good message to make sure people see. And just to back up real quick, I don't want to say that dying on the football field because of heat stroke is a laughing matter. What I meant is back when I was playing, no one knew that was a thing. No one knew that you could die from heat stroke because they watered us enough. And like at that time, social media wasn't huge. So those kind of incidents were very much shielded. So the mass does not know about these things. So in my small town, it never happened. So I didn't know about it. In Notre Dame, it never happened. So that's what I meant when I'm laughing about that is because back then we didn't have that. It wasn't a thing. I know
what you're saying.
Yeah. I just after I said it, I was like, well, shit, I don't want to sound insensitive because that's for sure a thing and that is a worry. But back in the day, it wasn't a thing. Nobody worried about it.
Right. I know. I knew what you meant, but you can't help be a little sarcastic, like, oh no, two-a-days, this, that, whatever.
Exactly. Well, in high school, we didn't even have two-a-days. Our coach would just have a 3.5-hour practice straight, and that was it. There's no breakups. We have our meetings and we just practice all night, and that's it.
Yeah, I think that could have been worked better for me, but those days are long done and over with, so it doesn't really matter now. So once you get established under Willingham, this is what I want to get into.
Sure.
And I don't want to. I mean, there were a lot of great guys that you played with, especially in that receiving room. But Brady Quinn, I was in attendance at that Washington State game when he got his first snaps ever in his college career. Mm-hmm. And what I'm curious about, since you were in the huddle with him, and I know we could probably get Maurice Stovall, Raymond McKnight, Anthony Fasano, whoever that was in that huddle with him, could happen. But you were in that huddle with him, and I got to know something. What was it like being in that huddle with Brady Quinn? What was his mind like, and what was the chemistry like that you had with him? Just since he's one of the best quarterbacks to ever play for Notre Dame.
Well, I'll kind of tell you a little quick story that just kind of give you a little glean into the kind of person Brady was and probably still is. I haven't talked to him often, but we talk every once in a while. So I was graduating. It was after our last game at home, Syracuse. His mother was in the back, and I saw her, gave her a huge hug, and I just said, hey, I want to congratulate you on the phenomenal job you've done raising Brady. He came in just like a quarterback should be. A little bit of a chip on his shoulder, a little cocky, smart as hell, cannon, athletic, and he's leaving the same way. He didn't get a big head. He didn't let the lights beat him up. The big stage was, he could handle any stage out there. But that's the kind of guy he was. He was kind of stoic. Nothing really ever shook him. Came in with a confident attitude. I jokingly say a big head and cocky, but he was just confident. From day one, he just knew he was going to go in and it was going to work out for him, and we were going to start winning games. He's going to turn the program around, and sure enough, he did that. And he left with that same confidence. It didn't turn into anything else, and his parents did a great job of raising him and teaching him how to be professional.
Well, he'd have to be professional when he's playing against his brother-in-law in the field.
I love that. And when his sister was dating AJ Hawk and she had that split jersey, I
remember that. But yeah, you'd have to be a pretty good professional to have to know that you're getting tackled by your brother-in-law and so I had to throw that in there.
But that's Brady. He was a great guy coming in and left the same way.
And of course, I don't just mean to pass over, guys like Carlisle Holiday and Arnaz Battle, but I'm just saying, obviously, both their paths as quarterbacks were different, because I know Arnaz became a receiver, and I think didn't Carlisle try to play receiver too?
They both joined me in the receiver room, and I learned a lot from them. I mean, they had more football experience than I did, not necessarily more receiver experience. Because they'd been quarterbacks, but I mean, their athletic talent and the knowledge they brought over and how they view the game as a quarterback when they're in the receiver room is just invaluable to players. If you just shut up and listen to the older guys, as young guys, you will learn so much because they're willing to share it with you because they want this team to win. So I shut my mouth and I listen to Arnaz when he talked, and I listen to Carlisle when he talked, because they're just a wealth of knowledge and see the game from a quarterback's perspective, which is very different.
Yeah. I mean, just because your career takes a different path with as far as positions go, that doesn't mean you don't have that knowledge.
Exactly. And it doesn't mean that you're not great at football.
Yeah.
It just means somebody came in, you lost that spot. We want you on the team. We love you. You're a player on this team. Let's find a spot for you. And they, fortunately for me, came over to the receiver room and they were great.
Awesome, man. And this leads me into the question that I've been dying to ask you about all week as we've been talking and setting this up. So obviously, and the numbers don't lie, your breakout year was 2004.
Yeah.
Hands down. I was at that Michigan game in 2004. And I saw that touchdown catch that you had in the south end zone. It was right in front of me.
Yep.
And first, I got to tell you a little funny story myself. So the first half, all defensive battle.
Yep.
The defense was holding Michigan to field goals. It was 9-0 at half. And you're going to love this. I was sitting next to this Michigan fan. He was an older gentleman. And I think it's safe to say that he had a little, all day a little libation leading up to the game.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. But all I know is it was just, I'm sure you remember it too. It was a miserable day for everybody. It was hot. It was humid.
Yep.
It was my brother and I, a friend of ours, we took our mom to the game. It was so bad that she started crying because of the humidity and how hot it was. And it was miserable. Yep. I felt awful for that. But it actually worked out for my mom in the end, and I'll save that for off camera. But anyway, so I'm sitting next to this Michigan fan, this old guy, and the whole game up until your touchdown, every single play, and I mean literally every single play when Notre Dame was on offense, this guy would be going, oh, like if Brady handed off to Ryan or to Darius, he would say after every play, just like this, he ain't going nowhere, fool. He ain't going nowhere, fool. Every play.
Oh, that sounds like a great person to sit in front of.
Yeah, and it's like, listen, I have a conscience. Do you really think I'm going to hit an older gentleman? No. Of course not.
You wouldn't hit him, I would slap the shit out of him.
I wanted to. But every play, well, it didn't even matter if it was Brady dropping back to throw. He would say, he ain't going nowhere, fool. He ain't going nowhere, fool. And then finally, when you had that awesome touchdown catch in the south end zone, everybody's going nuts. He shut the hell up for the rest of the game because, of course, that's when the whole offense started taking off. I mean, Darius had a great day running the ball in his debut game. You guys and Brady were clicking. The defense was forcing turnovers, and it was just come out with the victory. It was freaking awesome. But anyway, I digress from my part of things. But we both know it was a miserable day. But are there any special like what memories do you have of that game? Was there anything that stuck out? Like I guess kind of like how were you guys feeling, and what was it that took you guys to get going in the second half?
I think for that game it was just.
Well, it was after BYU, I know that.
It was after BYU. And BYU, I think I got like maybe 2 plays in that game. They didn't – so if we back up, the year before, team was struggling. We went into Stanford, needed a spark. They finally decided to give me a chance because nothing else was really working. And I had longest touchdown of my career, 65 yards. So I come into the next season – and I'm thinking, all right, Utah, here's my big year. I'm going to get a chance. I played a couple games in the first quarter, and then I didn't see the field again until the 4th. So I go into the Michigan game thinking, well, shit, different year, same outcome. They're not going to play me. Last year I showed what I could do, but same old coaching staff. I'm not going to get a chance. But, leading up to the game, they make you feel like you're going to have that chance, right? So I'm prepared. I'm ready for it when I get called, and coaches tell me in the locker room that, hey, we're going deep. We're gonna take the top off and we're gonna throw you the ball. So I think we got fade routes on both sides. I forget who's on the right side. I'm on the left side of the field. We're going south. So the southeast side of the field is where I'm at on the visitor side. And Brady in the huddle looks at me and goes, I'm coming to you if you're open. I'm coming to you. I'm coming to you. So I get up to the line knowing that I'm going to get the ball or strong odds I'm going to get the ball. And I fly by my guy. His feet are standing still. And, still there's that perception that stereotype white guys aren't that fast. So all day, and that happens every game until people figure out, okay, this little white guy's fast now. Is I run by him, and then on the way back, they start talking crap and like, you ain't doing that again. No way. All day, locked down. You ain't doing anything. Then run by him again. And they eventually just say, okay, you fast. So I fly by this guy, and I get to the front of the end zone. I got to hit the brakes and jump for it. Brady underthrew it just a hair, perfect front of the end zone. But I got such a clean release up front on the DB that Brady wasn't expecting that. I wasn't expecting that. And apparently neither was the DB. But fly by him, jump up. I catch the ball basically on the guy's head. Feet hit the ground. And next thing I know is I look up, and that's the Michigan band right in front of me. And I smile. I look at him, put the ball up in the air, and I just go, boop, and flew it and hit one of them in the head.
So that you were one of those guys, huh? The trash talkers.
No, I never talk trash. I always let my actions show. But when I had a chance to just do something to just twist the knife a little bit, I would do it. I definitely am that. I'm a little shithead sometimes. So that's what I did. Is I threw the ball, hit him in the head, and their just jaws were like, "This son of a."
Right.
It was good.
Well, all I know is Brady. He couldn't have lobbed that up any better for you. Like just letting it hang a little bit.
Yeah.
And that was right on the money.
Oh, and again, I say slow down, but it's a timing thing for a quarterback. Our timing is it's going to take a beat for me to get around that DB. So if I took a beat like I normally would versus a DB that's ready for me to go around him or try to go around him, then that timing would have been perfect. But because of the release, it was underthrown. It really wasn't underthrown. It's a timing thing. That's all. And that's what happens a lot in football is people are like, oh, they're not on the same, their timing's off, or he underthrew it, he overthrew it. A lot of it's just timing and how the receiver releases, and they blame it on the quarterback. And also in the receiver's defense, it's usually the quarterback's fault.
Right. I got you. And so the rest of the season, I remember in 2004, aside from that, the only blemish being the BYU loss to start the year, which actually what most people don't realize is that game was actually moved up to the beginning of the season. The rest of the year, things are going pretty good for you guys, but then it just kind of hit a snag a little bit. You pile up a couple of losses, and I guess what I want to ask you about that is when your season takes a turn that you guys don't expect and obviously don't want. Like, what's one of the biggest things that you guys do to keep yourselves together so things just don't completely? I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I hope you know that, but when things aren't going the way that you want it to as a team, what is something that you guys do to just keep your heads up and keep going, knowing that hey, the season's not going how we want it to go, but we're going to make the best of that. What's something that kept you guys together? When you'd have some, unfortunate times where games didn't go the way that you wanted to.
Yeah. I think that really boils down to the locker room you have. What I mean by that is, do the seniors put their heads down and give up, or do they keep their heads up, keep fighting on, and do the best that they can, even though we're not having a successful season? And we had great seniors. And just because we were losing games didn't mean that we didn't have a talented team, didn't mean that we didn't have great senior leadership. We did. And without senior leadership, we would have imploded and won one game that year. I mean, that's just how locker rooms can change, how towards coaching staffs almost. The coaching staff wasn't one of those staffs that really was motivating you. Charlie Weiss, when he got in, that was a motivational coach. That's a guy that he can rally the troops. Tyrone wasn't the guy that's going to rally the troops. He's a guy that's going to guide you up out of the gutter and change the team morale, the chemistry, the locker room, the philosophies. And that's what he did. He came in and changed the mindset of the team. And the team believed that we could win. But I think at some point we lost belief in the schemes we were playing. So, what schemes we were implementing each week. I think at some point, subconsciously, we just knew they weren't going to work because they hadn't been working for whatever reason. We weren't clicking with the coaching staff. Something was off. So I think having that senior leadership is what really keeps the team together. And then also, one of the most underrated aspects of college football, and a lot of people don't realize, is the strength coaches. That's the glue of your team. Your team is with your strength coach more than they are your position coach and your head coach. Mickey Marotti, I was with that guy. I don't know. I don't know how to put a time on, the amount of time I was in that strength training room, that weight room with Mickey and his staff, and how many times we're on the field doing gassers and whatever else. But having a guy like that who's a high energy, high motor guy, he keeps your energy going too. He kind of kicks you in the butt. And he knows who you are at the core and how to manipulate, push you, and push the right buttons to get you going. And he's doing that every single day behind the scenes, as are all of his associates. And so I say, senior locker room that keeps you on track, that has a good mindset, And then you got to have some glue back there in the coaching staff. And for us, and all the all these staff changes, that was Mickey Marotti and his team.
I gotcha. Yeah, I just was curious about that because morale gets down when you start losing a few games. You're out of the championship hunt. You're out of the major bowl picture. I mean, it's like I've always wondered about how teams stay together when those goals just are gone just like that.
And that's not to say we didn't have our riffs and have our moments. I mean, everyone does, but overall, everyone wants the university and the team to succeed. We want to beat whoever is on the other side of the ball, and at some point, it comes personal pride.
Yeah,
and that's something that I think comes into the messaging very quickly. Is like, are you proud? Are you proud of the product you're putting on the field? Are you proud of what you're doing every day in the weight room? Are you proud of this? Are you proud of that? And to the guys that care, they're going to start, finding areas where they can improve so they can be proud of what they're doing.
Got it. Okay, I see. And something also that I also wanted to ask you from that 2004 season, what was it like? What was it like for you to come home? And I'm sure you've talked about this, but what was it like for you coming home to play at Neyland Stadium against Tennessee?
That was an awesome experience, because I get to come home to my home state, even though I'm 7 hours away. Grew up 7 hours away from Knoxville, but that was an experience. I mean, that's 110,000 people at that time, and that stadium is bright orange, so it hurts the eyes and it goes straight up. If you're at the top, your nosebleed, you look down, you might have vertigo going on. You might fall over and roll down to the field. I mean, that's how straight up it was. So noise reverberates in that sucker, and they pump in music. That was the loudest stadium I ever played in. Was Neyland Stadium, but it was the loudest stadium and also the most quiet stadium I've ever been in as well. At the same time, opening kickoff, I'll ruin a little bit of a story in the book and tell this one, but opening kickoff, I'm back there. I catch it, take the first step. I maybe take 2 steps, maybe take 3 steps, but it was like no one blocked anyone. It was a sea of orange. And I take a step and I get crushed. Feet go into the air. The loud crowd is going nuts. And all of a sudden you can hear a pin drop. Everyone goes, ooh, 110,000 people at once. Hit that, go dead silent. I get stars, black out, and I stumble to my feet. I stumble to the sideline. I take a knee. My receiver coach, Trent Miles at the time, comes over to me and goes, you ready to go? We need you in there. I go, I'm going to need it like 2 plays, man. So I got a concussion going on. He's trying to get me back in the game. I'm like, just let me shake these cobwebs. But again, back in the day, yeah, they watched for concussions, but they really didn't care.
It wasn't like it was today. It was almost like, oh, here, take a salt tablet, get back in there.
Yeah. Look, if it wasn't for Jim Russ, we talked about it offline. If it wasn't for a guy like Jim Russ, the head trainer at the time, so many guys would have been put on the field when they're actually injured. Jim is that buffer that is between you, the player, and the coaching staff and says, hey, look, no, he is not going back in. He's done for 5-10 plays, whatever it is. But at that time, and as a player, anytime you have a concussion, you are going to do your best to act like you don't have a concussion, because what's the one thing you don't want to happen? You don't want to give someone else an opportunity to take your job, basically. You want to get out there and you want to win. You want to help the team. You want to do whatever you can, number one. Number two, you don't want to lose your job. And opportunity, that's going to happen. And that's happened to me the next year. It was opportunity. I got out of the way, and Samardzija jumps in and absolutely took off and had a phenomenal, rest of his career. Not to say I would have been that good, because Samardzija was on a different level, but I definitely lost a little bit of something because he came in and proved himself. So every player wants to get back on that field, no matter the injury.
Yeah, I mean, Shark, he was just one of those really special guys. I mean, two-sport athlete, and yeah, he was going to stand out, and that's just how football goes. The coaches are going to go with who stands out. I mean,
exactly, and it was just a matter of time for that kind of talent to blow up. And as soon as he had an opportunity, he didn't let go of the reins, as he shouldn't. I mean, he's phenomenal.
Well, I'll just say one more thing about Neyland Stadium in Tennessee is, the positive thing is you guys did go in there that day and get a big victory. Mike, of course, had the pick 6. Myself, I was just out of high school and working as a pizza delivery guy, and I'm stopping home in between trips to watch the game. And I'm jumping up like a freaking little schoolgirl when that the final. And let me tell you something else. I've been to Neyland.
Yeah.
I was stopped there when I was heading down for Notre Dame, Georgia in 2019.
Mm.
Oh my Lord, is that a trek? Now I know why they call it Old Rocky Top, because you were walking up to the top.
The hills of Tennessee, my friend.
But I tell you, it's beautiful down there, man. All those the hills of Tennessee.
Oh, yeah.
The Lee Greenwood song.
Oh, yeah.
So, now is the point where we get to talking about the main reason. You got your book coming out.
Yes.
I get. And what is it called? And and what was your inspiration for writing it? Excuse me.
Rising Through Every Fall. If we can get the glare off, there you go. Rising Through Every Fall. I just published it about a month ago or so, and it goes through my career at Notre Dame, and it starts off in high school, goes through the injuries and the recruiting, and then all the coaching changes and academia and everything that happens there and transpires, and more injuries, and then getting into the NFL and that whole story. But really the inspiration came, I was sitting in a hospital bed from fallout from a surgery before the Inside.com Bowl in 2004. I think
it was 04. Yeah.
It was 4. And I was sitting there, and I just, when you have a near-death experience, I don't know if you've had one, you just tend to look back on life a little bit, and you start seeing things from a little bit of a different lens. And when I was looking through that lens, I realized that my story was just different. So, I was going for, I think it was 6 weeks, 2 months, whatever it was, twice a day for 2 hours a pop. I was going to University Health Services on campus to get a big giant ball of vancomycin put directly into my heart. I had a PICC line in my arm that I had there for a month and a half, 2 months, that went straight to my heart twice a day, got that vancomycin put in to get rid of the infection. And I just had so much time. I started thinking, well, shit, let me write down some stuff. So I started writing down all my stories. So everything that is in the book actually happened. It's real. It's not from a 20-year-old memory. It's from maybe a 5-year-old memory or 4-year-old memory, or an event that is about to happen that I wrote down as I went. So that's where it really came from, is just understanding that my story was a little different with all the injuries, but then the uniqueness of having those 5 coaches in 5 years. And my recruiting class was 22 players. Only 8 of us made it from start to finish. So there's only 8 people that have a similar tale.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's that's pretty crazy when you think about it.
Yeah. And, and kind of going back to the middle coaches, if you will, the stop gaps. Some people will say George O'Leary wasn't a coach, but he signed a contract. He was a coach. We had individual meetings and team meetings. And not a lot of people know this, but probably about 25% of the team was ready to turn in papers to leave the University of Notre Dame because of George Leary. So we would have been down Justin Tuck. We would have been down Quentin Burrell, Dwight Ellick. A lot of these guys were going to be gone. So a lot of people don't know that story, but it's in the book, and we talk about that. And I've got interviews from Justin and Brady and some other guys in there, DJ, and try to fill it out. Not just my thoughts and opinions, but back it up with some other thoughts that back me up and also don't support me. Well,
from the snippets that you sent me, you really have my curiosity piqued on this, and I'm going to get your book. Good. I'm not saying that just because you're here. I'm going to get that book.
Well, thank you.
What I did read, you talking about your high school injury and the few other things that I was able to see.
Yeah.
Like, my interest is piqued. I want to see what else you have to say. And, now that I know there's interviews in there from these other guys, I really want to hear what they have to say too.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Because the last thing I wanted to do is just ramble like I do at times when you ask me questions here. I don't want to ramble when I'm writing. I wanted to have a clear, concise path. And, I have my stories and what I wanted, but as I sat there and wanted to fill things out, I wanted other voices to come in and be heard, because, when Tyrone Willingham gets fired, I've got my thoughts and I've got other guys' thoughts on it. And then I've got student thoughts on it. I don't know if you know this, but at the time before he got fired, there was a protest plan to meet in front of the Golden Dome and throw everyone's Return to Glory jerseys in a pile. as in like set him on fire. And then after he gets fired, there's a process that happened that said, integrity, talking about the integrity of the university. So I go through that aspect of things as well, and want other opinions besides mine.
Yeah, I do remember that. I didn't know particularly about the Return to Glory shirts being burned, but I knew without going into specifics, because we try to avoid politics and social issues. But there was a lot of that stuff going on too, and I remember it being all over the news.
Oh yeah. And just so we're clear, that protest did not happen because he got fired that morning. It was planned for that night, so it actually didn't happen. But.
Okay. Well, it's just I guess should they have let him finish out his contract? Yeah, probably. But at the same time, you got to base a performance on body of work.
Yeah.
It was what it was. What more can I say?
Well, and the university officials are not imbeciles either. They are very smart people, and when it comes to sports, they're just as smart as they are in the academia world. I mean, they know their sports. So these athletic directors and other people in the know, they're at practices, they're at meetings, they're at these events, and they're seeing what type of coaching is and is not happening and occurring, and they're noticing the development of players. I mean, they're analyzing it at all times, and frankly, there wasn't a lot of development going on. So the move being made makes a lot of sense, especially when I look back on it.
Yeah, when hindsight's 2020, you definitely can see it from
very easy to have the right answers.
Yes, but sometimes when you're in the moment, you don't know for sure. Yeah, other stuff comes out later, and well, you know how that goes.
100%.
So something else I wanted to ask you too, going back to your book, and we were talking about this briefly during the week. And yes, I was texting you while I was at work, and I figured just a funny story. Yes, I text at work, and what the supervisors don't know won't hurt them.
Smart man. Smart man. I won't tell him.
Okay, please don't. So you were saying that you got a chance to work with Lisa Kelly on your book and get some tips from her, guidance, because we've had Lisa on the show before, and I got to tell you, she is an absolute sweetheart of a woman.
Phenomenal. Yeah, I met her via phone and text and email, all that stuff, when she was writing some of her books a handful of years ago, and I did an interview in there in her Echoes collection. And when I started getting serious about the book, that's when I reached out to Lisa, because I was like, well, why would I not try to talk to some? By the way, before I get into Lisa, I actually, in 05 or 06, I reached out to Nicholas Sparks about how to write a book and about, yada, 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 because, he wrote all those phenomenal books and all those movies. And, and I actually had a conversation with him. Not that I remember it or I have the notes anywhere or we stayed in touch, but I just thought that was a funny thing that I remembered recently. So Nicholas Sparks had a hand in this, even though he did not have a hand in this. But Lisa Kelly, I thought, why not reach out to someone who was extremely kind to talk on the phone? She was very professional, and she loves Notre Dame, and maybe she'd be willing to help. So I reached out, had a phone call, had some texts, and I mean, the doors opened. It was anything and everything I wanted. She was willing to help, and she understands that if Notre Dame is being promoted and Notre Dame is being put into a good light and stories about Notre Dame are happening, that benefits her as much as it does me, as much as it does you guys. Anything that anyone can do to promote Notre Dame and talk about it and put it in a good light is going to be good for all of us. So her and Mike Brown, who also has a couple books out, I've talked to him a couple times as well. They were just invaluable insight into how to publish a book on your own, because I self-published and didn't want to link up with a publishing company and give away rights and all of that stuff. So, I mean, she's been phenomenal. And she actually had, let's see if you can see it on the back here. I don't know if you can see it. She actually is, tough to see back here, but she was also gracious enough to do an endorsement on the back of the book. And if you ever have a chance to read Lisa's books, I would highly recommend it. They're great stories from players. She's got a children's book that just came out and a cookbook. I mean, she is a very talented lady.
Oh, yes. Yeah, she's very talented. She's good at what she does. And, you know, she's helped us out by coming on here a couple of times. And going back to that real quick, you know, that's why they call us the Notre Dame family, from fans to graduates to players and so on. You know, I mean, obviously not everybody's going to like everybody, but you know, that's what connects all of us together. They call it the Notre Dame family for a reason, because we're there for one another. We're there to help each other out. And hey, the way I see it, there's plenty to go around.
Exactly. And that's what both of them have shown me, is just that generosity, that kindness, and that graciousness that I think pretty much every Notre Dame person I've met shows you. It's fairly ingrained within the community of Notre Dame.
Exactly. And that's where I've got to thinking at times too. It's like, you know, man, why would anybody want to come and do our podcast here? You know, we're not Blue and Gold Illustrated. We're not, you know, another major publication like Irish Sports Daily or whatever.
Sure.
You know, but I can tell you one thing, and I'm not trying to make Ben and I a couple of self-centered guys or anything, but we like to think that we give our guests a pretty good experience.
Yeah.
And we try to do something different.
Yeah.
You know, that, you know, we don't want to just be like, okay, Matt, I'm writing with a pen here. What did you do at this time? What did you do this? What was it like playing with that guy? No, we want to have like actual conversation with you and hear about your experiences. And, you know, all we need here is a couple of cold brewskis and just be like we're sitting at a bar somewhere.
That's exactly where I was about to go. And that's the best thing you can do in an interview, is make it feel like you're having a beer with them at the bar and you're just talking. And that was actually one of the reviews I got on the book from a friend that read it. He goes, man, I felt like I was sitting at a bar and we were just chatting. It was just a conversation and just matter of fact, and the stories in there, it felt like you were telling them to me over a beer. I mean, and that's one of the best compliments I think you can give someone, is that was an easy conversation, a good conversation, and I enjoyed it. And I'd say the same today. I can't say it about Ben now. I haven't met him yet. So I might have to go back on and meet him sometime.
Yeah, you'll get to talk to him soon enough. If you ever want to come back on, you're more than welcome to, of course. But that's just it too. It's like, listen, I know that I grew up watching you and other guys before you and so on. And yeah, of course, as a kid, I was like, oh, that's so-and-so, that's so-and-so. But I think what a lot of people don't realize is, even though you guys were on a big stage in the spotlight, you're still people just like everybody else.
Oh yeah.
And you should be treated like a person just like everybody else. You know, why make it I'm trying to think of the right word. Like I don't want to say unpleasant, but it doesn't have to be anything awkward. You're another person just like I am. So yeah, why should you have trouble talking to someone else like that? Just because your backgrounds are different?
Yeah. Exactly. You know? I bring that up in the book. And one of the titles of the chapters is fans and the animals meet academia and the fans. The fans and academia meet the animals. And I liken that experience of the fan-player interaction to us being animals in a cage. Mm-hmm. Because it does seem like that at points. You know, I say, you know, fans have two reactions. They yell out their favorite player's name and try to say hello, or they just point and go, ooh. And no reaction is a bad reaction. But I also state in there is like, just walk up to the players. I mean, it is just as much of an experience for a player as it is the person that's going up and getting an autograph. To put a smile on a kid's face, I'm telling you, that is the best feeling in the world. And every single player wants that feeling, because they want to make that kid feel like this is everything to them and give them that experience. And I 100% agree with you. Is everyone should be like that, whether you're you and me or a child and me. Walk up, say hello, let's have a conversation. It's easy.
And also, I'm sure there's an element of it too, where it's like you guys are in the spotlight for 4 months during the year, and I'm sure there's got to be times where, no matter where you are on the team, no matter how big your name is or whether you're a starter or on the practice squad, I'm sure there comes a time where you guys just want to be treated like human beings, not like superstars.
Yeah, exactly. And look, at the end of the day, players aren't going to turn down an autograph unless it's an autograph hound with 5 helmets and a ball in his hand. I mean, that's the only time we're going to sign 1 or 2 and say we're good for the day and move on. But if it's a kid, I'm going to sign everything he's got, and really try to build that experience for them, because you want that. I mean, everybody wants.
Man,
Do you remember that feeling as a kid when you got I got Fuzzy Zeller's autograph at a PGA event, got it on a golf ball, and I treasured that golf ball for years. And I want to give that experience to kids, and I hope that every college player and NFL player and every celebrity wants to give that experience, especially to the kids. I mean, that's what it's all about.
Well, I'll never forget when I was 11 years old, and that was the first time that my dad took us up to South Bend to see the campus, and we actually got inside access to one of the practices that really, because of my Uncle Jim.
Yeah.
But those practices, nobody but I don't even think the media was allowed in. So
Yeah.
I got privy to that, and I got a chance to meet Ron Paulus.
Yeah.
Get my picture taken with him. Get Autry Denson's autograph. Get Bobby Howard's autograph. Who went on to play for the Chicago Bears for a couple of years.
Yep.
And 11 years old, that's where I do have the starstruck attitude. But
sure.
I guarantee you now, Ron Paulus or Autry Denson or Bobby Howard, just like with you, I'd be like, hey Ron, you want to go have a beer and shoot the breeze for a little while?
Exactly.
Exactly. But of course, you're right. It's different. It's different when you're a kid.
Oh,
it's so much different.
It is. And that's, I mean, every player, and also in the book I mentioned, look, there's going to be a time where a player, he looks like a punk for turning a kid away or saying no to someone or whatever. But keep in mind, I mean, these players are 17, 21 years old, whatever it is. They have bad days too. They're human. Forgive them for their faults when they slip up. But all in all, I would say you're usually going to get the autograph. You're usually going to get the high five. You're going to get anything you want because players want to give that to the kids. Yeah, they're going to have bad days. So,
yeah. Exactly. Now, if it's a regular thing, that's a different story. But, yeah, everybody has bad days. Everybody.
For sure. I know I had mine. And I know I was a punk to some people here and there. But overall, body of work, I'm going to take the time to do what I can to help out.
Well, from what I can tell from, talking to you all week and this hour and 6 minutes that we've been talking here, you really seem like a class act and, great guy. I mean, hell, you just met me this week and you bent over backwards for Ben and I. And of course, Ben couldn't be here, but just to do this for us, I mean, we couldn't be any more grateful. And just, you're a class act all around, bud.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate it. And I'll definitely come back down the road and look forward to catching you at a game.
Yeah, definitely. I was going to say we should definitely get together at a game and have some fun.
For sure.
So one last thing, where can people get the book at?
All right, so you can get the book a couple different places. So risingthrougheveryfall.com. So just title the book. It's the informal through. You can get it there on the website. All those are going to be signed by me, sent by me, or you can go to Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, wherever you buy your books. You can definitely get it online. We're going to get it in stores, but the more we can get it online, the more we can get it into the stores. So help me out, go to those spots, and I hope you enjoy the book and the journey.
Well, we will definitely make sure to get that link in the description box below when this video is posted. And other than that, Matt, I have nothing else for you. If there's anything else you'd like to add, this is your spot, and go right ahead.
No, that's it, my man. I really appreciate the time, like I said, and look forward to talking more Irish football with you here in a minute.
Yeah, sounds good. And actually, you know what? We completely forgot about this. That opener today in Ireland.
I did forget about that.
Hey, if you got time, I got time. So
I got time.
What did you think of that today, Florida?
Oh my God! Is there anything more exciting than college football starting? And then you get a game like that where, what was it, 24-21, whatever the heck.
Last thing,
27-24, whatever it was. But Florida State, Georgia Tech, two teams we play this year, which is another reason we want to watch it, to see what we're getting ourselves into. But that, I mean, you couldn't ask for more as a college football fan. And to happen in Dublin and have that Irish vibe, and you got Seamus that picks Irish to win for the year.
Yeah.
And just, you got to love it, man. You got to love it. Both teams look really good at opening starts. They had some stumbles, but the most, I told you before we got on live here, is the most amazing thing to me is how clean the game was. There's only 4 penalties. Usually opening games, you got 5, 6, 10 penalties because the guys are trying to figure it out and they get antsy and the lights are a little bright and the crowd's a little loud and they They jump on, have some false starts. I don't even think we saw a false start. So hell of a job by the offense defensive line.
There was one that I remember.
That is impressive. That is impressive.
Yeah, especially it's the first game. You have some new guys in there, like some first-time starters, and you're overseas. You couldn't ask for a better game than that.
You couldn't.
And now, see, here's the thing. I think Florida State will bounce back from this.
Yeah.
But now what's even more concerning, and people are going to think I'm nuts for this. Now we got – well, you don't overlook anybody on the schedule, but now Georgia Tech has kind of showed that, hey, they're going to be no slouch in the park when it comes time to play them.
Oh, no, but you got to also look at Georgia Tech's roster. They had 17, 18 guys returning from last year. So there's a wealth of experience on that team. They've been in the system. It's not a new coach. I mean, they're going to play well, and they're looking forward to taking down a number 10 team in the country. So they played their hearts out. Florida State did the same. They've got some things to work through, but Norvell down there, the head coach, phenomenal coach. He's going to right that ship, and we're going to have a battle with both those teams down the road.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I think so too. And but also just those people, those citizens in Ireland, they sure got a treat for their city. And I'm just curious, the two, probably not 96, but did you by any chance, did you get a chance to go to the two games when we played over there?
No, I did not. And you know what? There was one thing Bob Davey promised. He promised me a couple things, but one of the things he promised me when he was recruiting is that we were going to go back to Ireland and play. And Bob never got that trip.
Oh man, that sucks.
Damn it, Bob.
But I'll tell you one thing. I know there's going to be another time when we go back over there.
Yes.
Because the relationship has been way too good. It's starting to be a great relationship, not just between Ireland and Notre Dame, but all of the NCAA in Ireland. So it's not a matter of if, but when we go back. But I hope the next time we go back that they play the game in Croke Park. Because there's 30, you can fit 30,000 more people in that stadium. That's the classic stadium where Bloody Sunday happened.
Yeah.
And that's where they played their rugby and their Gaelic football and all, which I saw a game in there, by the way.
Nice.
And it's a real nice classic old stadium. And all I know is if they're able to make a crap load of money off of 50,000 people in the stands, think of what they're going to do with 80,000. And then all the additional people that just make the trip for the sake of being there like I did.
To take in the experience. I mean, I'm sure they can fill that stadium. I don't think it would be an issue. They should definitely pull the trigger.
And I mean, I can understand with the Aviva being fairly new. I think maybe 12, 13 years old. I get
more bells and whistles, sure. Mm-hmm. But there's something to be said, like playing in the Coliseum, USC. That's an experience. It's an old rundown facility, but it is a freaking experience, and it's worth your money to go see a game out there. It'd be the same thing in Ireland at that stadium.
Well, and those stadiums like that, that's like where you truly. This is going to sound like a cliche statement, but that's where you truly feel the ghosts of the past. Yeah. It gives you that little trembling. It's a good trembling feeling of like, hey, this is history that I'm standing in right now.
And the first time you play in that stadium, I mean, I feel like you're lying if you don't have that feeling, because you know the history. You're a sports fan. You know what's going on there. You're going to feel something. If you've been there a couple of times, maybe not. Unless it's Notre Dame. I say unless it's Notre Dame, because I still get chills every time they run out of the tunnel. Every time. I don't know why. I don't know if they'll ever go away, but I still get the chills. The hair stands up. The excitement happens as soon as you see them run through. And nowadays when the smoke goes up.
Yeah, the smoke, and you got the video board playing the playing the music and stuff. I mean, I first witnessed that last year. I was up there for the USC game, and that gave me chills.
Yeah.
Seeing that little I guess what would you call it, like a signature playing with this music, and the smoke running out. It complements each step complements itself.
Yes. Notre Dame's very good at production, that's for sure. They know how to put on a show and make it to where everyone wants to keep coming back, and the fans want to. And I think people that experience for the first time that necessarily aren't fans or don't really care too much, I think after you have that experience, you want to come back because they do put on such a great show, great environment for everyone.
Yeah. So, we got a great game to start the 2024 campaign. And something I also wanted to ask you, what's your opinions on the 12-team playoff? Like, do you think that do you think that can work? Do you think that's going to be a success?
I think it's going to be successful. I mean, the conversation is going to shift though. instead of us complaining about, oh, 5 and 6 didn't get in, now we're going to complain about 13 and 14 didn't get it. There's always going to be a group of people that are going to complain about it because their team gets shafted, which it happens. But I think it's going to be successful. I think it's going to be good for sports. I think you're going to see a lot more games that you care about. They're impactful. I think the only place where it comes into concern is just on the body of the players. I think we have to go through a season of that because you're extending the season a little bit with championship games. I think Notre Dame's lucky in the sense that they don't have that, so they get a week off. And yeah, we can't be on the top 4 where we get a bye, but we don't have a championship, so we kind of get a built-in bye there, which is great for us, and I think sets us up extremely well to succeed in the system. So at the end of the day, I think it is going to be good. I think we got to watch the health of the players and the impact that makes, just like the conversation we're having in the NFL about it, extending the season. It's all about the players. Yes, everyone wants to make money, but in college, players, now they're making money. Damn it, everyone's making money. Back in the day, we didn't make any money. NIL comes in. Now they're making so much money. So I digress.
All right. Well, then again, you had SMU in the 80s, but, that was very well under the table. So.
Oh, shoe boxes were allowed. Bama's still giving shoe boxes. Just a habit. So I think it's going to be great. You just got to watch for the player's health, and we're not going to know how the impact on that until a season or 2 or 3 under our belts to see what happens and what transpires. But when you play more games, there's always that risk.
Well, and I'll say this: the only issue, which isn't really an issue because I understand it, is I know you're definitely gonna see a lot more SEC, Big Ten, and Big Ten teams in there, but it's only because these conferences are getting basically top loaded from all the realignment going on.
Yeah, I can't keep track of it. I don't know who's in what conference anymore. I've stopped paying attention to it. They're all playing college football still, right?
Yeah, they are, and it's just they seem to not know how to count anymore. I mean, how can you be the Big 12 with only 2, and how can you be the Big 10 with 18? And I
think I was looking up something. I saw the Pac-2. There's only 2 people in the Pac-12 or 10 or whatever it used to be.
Yeah, Oregon State and Washington State.
That's so crazy. It's so crazy.
I know, and I don't think realignment's just over yet.
No, I don't either. I think there's more to come, and you'll see more shifts. But I think even after a couple of years with some of these teams in the Big 10 and the Big 12 and SEC, I think you're going to see another shift there somehow. I mean, I think they're going to get into it and realize the travel and the expense to do all this traveling, maybe it outweighs how much they're making. Because, I mean, that's a toll. How are the players going to even go to class anymore when they got to travel 2,500 miles, once a week, back-to-back weeks? I mean, whatever it is. But that's a long trip for guys.
Yeah, are we going to start seeing the players have representatives in classes now?
They have to, or they do it all just via what you would call it, like Teams or something.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just the game's really evolved. All I know is I can see a lot of pros and cons to all of this with like the transfer portal, NIL, the playoffs expanding, and so on. Yep. But that's a whole nother video, man. And I could talk to you for hours about this.
Yep.
But look, I think this is a good place to call it. Of course, we can always have you back on another time. Hopefully Ben's better at that time if you're interested in coming back.
He's going to be ducking me again and have laryngitis. Not bad.
But Matt, thank you so much for giving us this opportunity to talk to you. And I say, even though Ben's here, I still say us because he's, just as much involved as setting things up, even if he can't be here. And we're very grateful for the time that you gave us. And we'll make sure to get the link to your book in the description box. And I look forward to reading the whole thing.
Beautiful. Well, I hope you enjoy. Hope Ben feels better, and look forward to seeing you guys at some games soon.
Excellent. So on that note, everyone, I am Sean Moriarty, and Matt, you can introduce yourself out.
Matt Shelton. That's it. That's all you get. Now, Matt Shelton, class of 05, Notre Dame record holder, wrote a freaking book. Check it out. Great talking to you. Look forward to next time I'm in.
Well, thank you so much, Turbo. So on that note, everyone, good night. God bless, and go Irish.